Access granted.
Okay, so we need to call create preview from somewhere. Let's go right underneath update, and we will create a new void handle input. And if we are handling our input mode must not be none. So if our preview is null, we're going to create a preview. We will actually have two different methods of handling our input. We'll handle place, which is its own method. And that's the first one we're going to do. And then we will handle inner. Inner is exactly what it sounds like. We're actually selecting a nugget that has a value. Place is more or less, we're selecting a nugget that does not have a value. And let me show you what I mean. And although these values are at memory level right now, before production, I would move them down to method level, to the actual local level in the function. I'm going to go ahead and call them. I just have them at a member level so I can see them in the inspector to debug. We need one more value up here. Let's put it right here. And that's column even. Okay. So if our norm y is greater than 0, then we are going to handle place positive y because we're on the positive side of the norm. But what we're going to do first in our method is make sure that this nugget index we are passing in is empty. Because the floating point error will trick or be tricked by our mouse position. And although this is rarely used, normally it's correct. Occasionally, if we turn this off, we comment this out, when we go into the front end, you will see the preview item falling down into the ground where there already is a nugget and then popping back up. And that's basically caused by the floating point error. So just in case we had some kind of catastrophic failure, or we're at all the way at the top of our world, we need to make sure that our nugget's within range. And we'll go ahead and check also, make sure that it's greater than -1. And because we may have changed our nugget index, we're going to go ahead and get our columns and our rows again, our Y. Now we're only going to do this point part if we are clicking the mouse. We'll also set our material, but we don't have that yet. My mistake. Let's put it right up here. If I can type, and this would be basically the material, or not basically, it is the material. And now we have to tell our chunk to regenerate, or reevaluate at least. Not regenerate though. Now we're going to set where we want our preview. And since everything kind of passes over everything, or invades everything, all hexagons invade each other's space, we need to multiply the column by 0.75. But as far as the row for the Z, we've also got to check where exactly, if it's an even column or odd column. And if it's an even column, we're going to push the selector forward half of a nugget. If it's an odd column, we will not. And down here, we're going to go ahead and place our preview item. Oh, I put picked row up here. My mistake. Row R up here. But we'll go ahead and place it, even if there was a bug that blew everything up. Okay, now let's go get our handle input in place. We will need a bit mask here because we do not want to include our camera in this. So I've placed the camera on the number 2 on the NOR raycast, and when I click that, of course it says, it asks me if he wants to do all the children, and I do. And that is because if our camera, if we set it a little bit far in front of us, will actually collide with the character collide. Or if we set the camera, the camera behind us will collide with the character controller. So there's that. And see, we got that nasty little message. I know I haven't used it yet, and I'm going to go ahead and make you go away because I hate those messages. Forgot to include this at the beginning. So nagging. It's a nag. Now I want to actually reverse this. I want the layer mask to include everything but layer 2. In this case, it would include layer 2. But no, I want it to include everything but layer 2. So it's going to include actually a lot of values. That's what it's going to include. But we don't want our raycast to collide with layer 2. So we are creating a ray, which is a line, from our character's position, which is we're converting to a screen to a 3D position, just a helper function from Unity here, and the ray, just like a line, goes on forever and ever, but we're going to, when we raycast, we're going to limit its distance. And I don't have click distance in here yet either. Alrighty. And this is an incredibly huge number for this, but it's fine. We can edit chunks next door to us. IntelliSense is really making itself useless. As crazy as that sounds, it is actually making itself useless by getting in the way constantly. So what the ray collided with, we want to make sure it has a parent. And we are going to, first of all, set a point, or get our point, get our normal. And we're going to set our x equal to our point. That will change in a little bit when we implement scale. There's a good reason we're going to implement this scale. Let's just jump over to the front end for a second here. So Unity's camera does not like little numbers for its height and width and so forth. Excuse me, for its height and radius, etc. So really, we want all of our math to be done on a column and row basis from 0 to 1, being or 0 to however 16. But this is not very small. It doesn't really look like an overhead map. So you might think, why don't we just make our camera smaller, make our height shorter? Well, Unity will finally give you an error if you actually make it small enough. So instead, we're going to scale our world up later on. And because of that, we'll actually be doing some more math in here in a little bit. But at this moment, that's just for the future. And although we're only working with one chunk here, we collide it with the child 0 object, we're still going to get our chunk this way, as if we have 1,000 chunks out there. And right now we only have small part place going on, but that's what we're going to put down here. That's what we're going to work with. All right, let's get to the front end and test this.
Access granted.
And set our input mode to, something went wrong there. Play, oh, I didn't call it. Down at the bottom of update, we actually need to call it. Or destroy our preview. So if we are in a pause state and our input mode is not equal to none, handle the input. Else, if our preview is not equal to null, destroy it. That should make our life easier, or work better. And there we are. Boom. So we have a few other things to work with. If you notice, it disappears back to 0, 0, 0 for some reason. So we'll use that for a debugging situation. Basically, we don't have what I want to say, we're not handling these normals yet, but it's kind of annoying when I put this there and it's way over here to the side. But now when I do it, it jumps over to the side. But that will be taken care of. And we can jump over to our material and we can give it a different color. And it's semi-transparent. Or is that a shadow? Yeah, I think that's a shadow actually. But let's get back and add some more placers, because all we can do is build up here. Come on.